Okay, let's try and do this quick. Hopefully quickly. Essentially, I want to go over the basics of Diablo 3, like the end game and the general gameplay of Diablo, and explain it. That way, if you guys come by the Twitch stream, then it'll make a lot more sense what the hell's happening. The short version of it is Diablo is a action RPG dungeon crawler, loot finder type game, right? So the idea is you're killing mass amounts of enemies and getting loot and just upgrading your power to rinse and repeat. Eventually, the end game of getting all your power, getting your cube, getting whatever you're doing done is the Greater Rifts. The end game is the Greater Rift. And there's 150 Greater Rifts, all of them harder than the other ones, so, the difference between Greater Rift 1 and Greater Rift 10, for example, is, as far as like numbers go, fairly wide. But then from 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 40, whatever. So the idea is you have Nephilim Rifts, which I'll show them in here for the obelisk. You have Nephilim Rifts, which are randomly generated maps and monsters. And you may have a great map and terrible monsters, or a great monster group but terrible map. But anyway, you run a Nephilim Rift, you start it up, and you'll see a bar. Start it up and jump in. There we go. You should see the bar. So that way, once you hit 100% in the bar in the rift, you'll spawn the Rift Guardian. Who's the boss? You kill the boss, you get the big loot, right? Most people understand that.
I need more discipline. Not enough hatred. I need more hatred to do that. A mighty adversary in support. I'm still waiting. I am too low on discipline. Feel better now. Not ready yet. My hatred is too low.
Anyway, like I was mentioning, the basic loop is for Nephilim Rift is you kill shit, spawn the Guardian, kill him, grab the loot and whatever else, and get out, close the rift to get XP for it. So that's generally how the Nephilim Rift works. The Greater Rift is similar but a little bit different. The Greater Rift is generally a little more linear as far as the path for the map. It costs a Greater Rift keystone to activate a Greater Rift, and there's no loot drops at all. So all it is just killing, no drops, right? No gold or nothing. The only drops that happen are at the end with the Rift Guardian boss. So once you kill him or her, you spawn in, their drops and stuff. Their drops come from their body, obviously. Then you spawn in what's Hershey, I can't pronounce her name. She's a vendor, basically, that you use to upgrade legendary gems. And those legendary gems are socketed into your rings and amulet, and she is pretty damn helpful. Legendary gems in general, like your build, So generally, an endgame Diablo build revolves around big defensive buff, big offensive defensive buff, right? So like for Demon Hunter, it's Vengeance, right? So wait for the cooldown. Anyway, Vengeance basically for the DH, it does 40% extra weapon damage, like multiplicatively. So just, and then what is it, like 40% extra damage, and it shoots, like my character automatically shoots around me, and like other buffs, right? So the idea is, for most builds, you keep up your big buff, right? For Vengeance or Akrat's Champion with Crusader or whatever. And you keep that big buff up, keep it up as much as you can to have your toughness, to have your damage, and while that's up and you time everything perfectly, you get big boy damage from one skill, right? For me, my build does like 80 something thousand% damage on Impale, right? Where I throw the knife. And one of the things I have on the Impale skill is my knife goes through everything, pretty much. So if I line everything up in one line, all of those are going to get one-shotted, basically. That's the idea. And my toughness comes from my Vengeance and my jumping around ability. Like, there's a lot of intricacy to endgame builds, but that's the general gist of it. You're focusing on building up or buffing one skill for all your damage, pretty much, and the rest, everything else around your one skill for damage is utility or defense, pretty much. So, like, it sounds pretty basic, but it gets intense, trust me. And the last activity that we'll discuss is bounties, and nobody likes bounties at all, because here's the problem. You do bounties to get materials, right, for crafting and upgrading, which you can get those materials from a Challenge Rift or Nephilim Rift anyway. There are specific materials for bounties, sure, but generally you can get what you need through Nephilim Rifts anyway, and Challenge Rifts. And the Challenge Rift happens every month or every week. So every Monday it refreshes and turns into a new one, and you can get a bunch of maps every week, a bunch of materials. And the bounties are randomly generated. Actually, I'll go back and try to show you the bounty thing.
Want to see what you'll get?
I've dug up some new things for you to take a look at. I worked my hands to the bone.
Here we go. I don't know if this shows, but who knows stuff today. Anyway, the point being, so the bounty is comprised of 5 parts of an act of the campaign, basically. You go to each part of the act, do the objective, and when you're done, you come back and talk to Tyrael, and he'll give you a bounty cash reward and, materials or whatever else, right? You open the reward, boom, get stuff. The problem with the bounties is that nobody likes them because it can take, depending on your build and depending on what objectives you get lucky with, anywhere from 5 minutes to like half an hour, right? So it's like, you can take anywhere from 25 minutes to an hour and a half or an hour to do a full set of bounties, right? All 5 acts, all 25 individual challenges, anywhere from like 25 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. Just for bounty mats, when you can get pretty much similar amounts of stuff from regular rifts, and you could run more rifts in that time than you can bounties. And like run like 2 or 3 times the rifts. So generally, bounties are looked on as the least fun part of D3. So hopefully you guys understood this a little bit, and it's not too complicated. And hopefully I'll see you guys around streams in the future. If you guys have any topics or any feedback or suggestions, just let me know. I'm thinking of doing an MKX or MK11 video next, just because I haven't really done in-depth guides or anything on that for a while. So It's either that or some sort of weapon guide for Cold War, because Cold War is actually getting year 2 content, in case you didn't know. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.